So AdAlta is developing, as Scott mentioned, our lead candidate in the area of fibrosis. So fibrosis is essentially scarring. We're developing this drug in the area of pulmonary or fibrosis, so scarring in the lungs. We have a drug that can be used in multiple areas of fibrosis. We've shown that it has application in the eye, the liver, the kidney, and also the skin. And we find that with this area of fibrosis, there's a lot of deals and transactions from Big Pharma. It's a very hot area, and the transactions tend to happen a lot earlier. So we have orphan drug designation for our lead candidate, AD214, and we're advancing that through manufacturing at the moment. I'll hit through a few key milestones that we've recently met. We've got an experienced team which will enable us to take our lead candidate right through to the end of phase 1, where we see a lot of those transactions happening. A few months ago now, we raised 4.73 million, which left us at the end of the September quarter with 5.74 million. And in addition to that, a 2 million R&D tax. So our code, for those of you who don't know, is 1AD. Over the last 12 months, our share price has gone from 20 cents to 40 cents. We raised the last round at 30 cents, and the share price is currently at about 25, 26 cents. We have, post the raise, about 117 million shares on issue and about 60% institutional support. We have, including that, we have another 20% held by high net worths, 5% held by the board, and about 20% held by retail. Our major shareholders include UR Capital, a private venture capital group out of Perth, private portfolio managers, but Platinum Asset Management being the second biggest shareholder. The team includes myself, Sam Cobb, I'm the CEO of AdAlta, Mick Foley's our Chief Scientific Officer based out at La Trobe Uni, and Dallas Hartman, Chief Operating Officer in charge of manufacturing. So like I mentioned, 60% institutional support, with UR Capital, Platinum Asset Management having 27 billion under management, investing in global equities and choosing to invest in an Australian biotech company being us, and following their funding and their investment in the last round as well. So strong support from these institutional investors. We have, like I mentioned, 4% of the original investors, 4 or 5% of board holding that shares in the company as well. So AD214 is our lead candidate. We changed this during the last 12 months from AD114. It was a big change for us, but the reason we did that was because of the improvements that we'd seen in both potency, so how strong that thing works in the body and how efficacious it is. But then also the half-life was dramatically improved. So that back end of the eye body essentially keeps it in the body for a lot longer. So those two changes meant that we had a superior candidate and really had to move forward with that new product. We've shown, like I mentioned, AD214 has broad application in fibrosis, with our lead indication being in the lung. So lung fibrosis, there's a disease called idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. So it's an unexplainable disease. It has about 300,000 people in the US and Europe with this condition, and they sell drugs at the moment, 2 drugs that work in about 30% of that population for about just over $1 billion in sales per annum. We've demonstrated not only application in the lung, but we've also demonstrated it in the eye, the liver, the skin, and the kidney. So one of the major milestones for us over the last few months has really been taking AD214 through manufacturing, a really key process for a biologic. You get this right, the rest of the steps really flow. Cell line development is the first in that. So we're putting the gene for AD214 into a cell and then asking that cell to express it. We then optimize that expression, which is called cell line development, and then we purify away AD214 from the rest of the cell material. That process can take up to 12 months to 2 years. We've got this process with our manufacturing partners, Selexis and KBI, down to about 12 months. They've ticked off the first milestone being cell line development, and we announced in October that we got a gram per litre. We've since improved that through this cell line expression and optimisation, and we're currently sitting at around 3 grams per litre. So now moving forward, we can optimise that process of how we purify it and how we formulate it. We're expecting this process of optimisation to be finished in the first quarter next year. And after that, they'll do a run, which they call a demonstration run, and that will provide us the materials for our non-human primate studies for the second half of next year. They'll also develop the materials for our clinical trial, which will start in January 2020. So the key milestones for AD214 over the next 12 months are really completing that non-human primate study in the second half of 2019 and then getting into the clinic early 2020. In parallel to that, we're looking at publishing a few key papers over the next few months. So looking at the half-life of the platform, so the iBody, so how long that stays in the body, but how we've been able to use that in a number of different formats and show the flexibility of that platform. We've just, earlier this year, we published in Nature Scientific Reports with the lung data. We're looking to publish some of the eye data over coming months as well. And we've also been asked to provide a review of CXCR4 in the area of fibrosis, so that will also come out in the next few months. In parallel to all this, the publication, we're also looking at partnering with the platform and developing our own iBody pipeline. So partnering means that we're going out to Big Pharma, we're talking to them about AD214, but we're also talking to them about the platform and how that can help them with their own research. So in the first instance with AD214, we see a number of transactions. The average upfront deal at the end of phase 1 is around about 100 million. More recently, we saw Samumed license their product to United Therapeutics. They did a 10 million upfront, but this was for USA rights only. So we see worldwide rights, 100 million upfront, and then between 300 and 400 million in milestone payments. Over the last 12 months, we've had significant achievements. Changing to AD214, a more potent drug, was really one of the main ones. We're publishing our data, getting the information there and showing how, in a peer-reviewed way, that this is actually a great product with anti-fibrotic and anti-inflammatory activities. We've completed the preclinical package in multiple models, and we've also got a grant with a leading clinician in Sydney called Carol Pollock. So she's looking at detail at AD214 in a number of kidney models, showing that in kidney fibrosis, this drug also has application. We've also got the key patent of AD214 covered in Australia and progressing in multiple jurisdictions at the moment. And as I mentioned, the major milestones of manufacturing were completed in October, and we continue to meet those on track. So over the last 12 months as well, AdAlta has had significant analyst and media coverage, including from Morgans. We've also had coverage from BioShares, NDF Research and Patterson's, as well as some major news outlets, including Sydney Morning Herald and the ABC and others. So in terms of the financial position of the company, we currently have 5.74 million at the end of the September quarter. This was after closing the round of 4.73 million in July. We roughly spend at about 1.5 million a quarter, and we're in a strong position now to take AD214 through to the end of manufacturing. So our business model, like I mentioned, is really to take the lead forward and partner and to advance that as far as possible, maximise shareholder value with that lead, but to also partner with the platform technology called the iBody. And so to do that, we're talking to Big Pharma and other companies, and we're also looking at our own internal pipeline. So we see in a number of areas that people are doing R&D deals with Big Pharma and biotech with their platforms similar to AdAlta's. So Argenx and Ablinks both have a camel-based technology. We've got the human iBody, which is very similar. We see Argenx doing deals, 40 million upfront for a number of targets and getting 645 million in milestone payments. Ablinks was quite good at doing partnerships. They recently got acquired by Sanofi, but had earlier in July 2016 done a deal, 31 million euros up front and 2.4 billion in milestone payments. Again, we see this long loop of the eye body having application with these difficult to access or undruggable targets. So looking to apply the technology to that area, and we're also seeing a number of deals happen in that space. AdLink's also doing deals with Boehringer and others around that long loop of their technology as well. So in terms of expected news flow, for the next 6 months, it'll really be around the publications, manufacturing, and some preliminary non-human primate studies. So at the moment, we're completing a single ascending dose study in non-human primates. So looking at how long in a primate our iBody 8214 lasts. So that data will be key for modelling what the half-life will be in humans. We'll have that data early next year, as well as multiple dose studies before we lead into our 4-week toxicology study in the second half of next year. Then going into the first half of 2020, getting into patients and showing that 8214 is safe. So AdAlta, as a summary, we've successfully raised 4.73 million this year to take 8214 through some major milestones. They include manufacturing. We're meeting those milestones. We're hitting all the goals there. We've, at the end of the September quarter, had a cash position of 5.74 with our 2 million R&D tax coming in after the quarter. Our focus is to take 8214 through to that phase 1 study where we see a number of transactions happening. We've got the platform sitting behind 8214 that will also enable us to do partnerships. So we're looking forward to a successful 2019 and look forward to updating you along the way.